and welcome back to the Stahls UK YouTube channel. We're back with another Art Working for Heat Transfers episode, and today Dane is covering something very important: how to optimize your files. So regardless of whether you're working with created artwork or a photograph, you can make those colors pop and make your design stand out from competitors every single time. So if you want to know how to get the best possible quality artwork for your heat transfers, then keep watching this video.
All right, in this video, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I think is the most important thing I could teach you, and that is what I call file optimizing. And it works with any image. It could be a photo like this, or a piece of artwork generated by Midjourney like this one, right? So I'm going to show you how both of these work for both of these images. So let's go. We see here we have a PNG here of this macaw. It looks pretty good. But let's see if we can make it better. Basically, we're going to open up an image, run some steps on it, and see what we're left with at the end, which I think is going to be a much better improved piece, which would make a much better print, right? All right, so let's do this. There's 6 steps involved in here. So we're going to go to the Image menu, come down to Adjustments. This is what I like to call Photoshop's Corvette engine. We just opened up the hood, and there is a boatload of power in this one little window, right? So let's go to Selective Color first. And right here where it says colors and reds, I want to click on the reds and I'm going to drop it to neutrals. And I'm going to go ahead and do 3s, right? And I'm going to turn on and off my preview checkbox so you can see what's happening here. We're removing the gray matter that's in the image, right? Just the gray stuff, not affecting any of the colors. Now, you're going to use all the same numbers in these boxes, but you're going to have different numbers, right? So you can, I will tell you this, you're probably going to stay within between 3s and 8s, right? Watch, I'll go ahead and go to 8s. I think this 3 looks pretty good, but let's go to 8 so we can see the difference. Hit my tab key and just sort of moving along. Turning on and off my preview. I think it's taking out way too much information. We can try 5s, right? Any number in between there is where I'll tell you you're going to live. I think that's still a little much. Let's go back to 3s. And one more time, double check it. That looks pretty good because we're just taking a little bit of that gray out. I hit OK. My second step is Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. Now what I'm looking for in this one window here is I'm just looking for my saturation slider, right? So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to saturate it up. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing it till I see the whole entire image and trying to find out to get it to a spot that I like, right? And I really like the blues and the yellows and the reds, but I think the reds are a little bit too hot. So what you can do is right now just leave everything set and you can go to the master drop-down menu and tell Photoshop, now I just want you to focus in on the reds, right? And I'm going to go to my saturation and we'll just pull it back a little bit. So I'm going to start here and just sort of dial it back. Maybe not quite so much, but just a touch. I think that looks pretty good. If I turn on and off my preview, you see that adjustment that we just made all together. Looks much, much better. So we'll go ahead and hit OK to that. Now my next step, the third one, is Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. Now inside this window, Adobe made a change years ago, but I want it to the way this thing works here. And I want to go back to the Use Legacy. It's just a little bit more aggressive. But not very. And this is the only time in this whole entire process that I will tell you just punch in a number, right? Because all the other steps, I want you to look at what's happening and make adjustments according to the image that you have. Because the color data in this file is going to be totally different than any file you ever open up. So you have to make these adjustments to your file. Now in this instance only, I'll tell you, all I'm trying to do is give a little bump in contrast. I just want to push it a little bit. And watch, I just got a 5 in here. I hit Use Legacy, and I'm going to turn on and off my preview, and you'll see what we got. Just sort of focus in maybe on his head because it's a good contrasted area, and you'll see the white and the blacks just pop a little bit better. That looks good, so I'm going to hit OK. Now my next step is Image, Adjustments. See this Corvette engine, right? We're still going back, opening up that hood because it's super mega powerful. So we'll go to Levels, right? Now what this window does, this is a visual representation. It's a color ramp, right? So this shows me visually where the color is in my file. So if you notice this grayscale bar here at the bottom, this is my shadows. So I got a lot of shadows in here. Here's my midtones and here's my highlights, right? So what I'm trying to do is I want to compress the color in here. I want to set a black point and I want to set a white point in my image. And we do that this way. So I'm going to max. So I'm going to hold my Option key. If you're on a PC, just hold your Alt key. Click on this top triangle here and we're going to wig out our screen, right? What I want to do is I'm looking for black pixels since I'm moving the black triangle here. So I'm going to hold my Option or Alt key, click on that triangle, and there is a little bitty chunk of black here in the background, right? So I don't need to move this. You don't want to darken the black areas because then the whole entire image just becomes too muddy, right? Too dark. So hold the Option key, click on it. If you see black pixels, then just go ahead and stop. You're good. A little bit different on the white side though. So if I hold my Option key on the white triangle or the highlights and I click on it, there's no white pixels in here. Even though I know I can see this branch back here, which is basically background element, so I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about his face. I'd like to see some brighter areas in his face. So if I hold the Option key or the Alt key, click on my highlights or my white triangle, I'm going to start moving this thing till I see some white pixels. Now, you can see I see the white pixels in the branch, right? But again, that's background element. It's not my main guy. So if I do like this, now I got some white pixels like in his face and those little wrinkled areas up in here. Man, look at that. So that looks way better, right? So I can leave it there and then go ahead and hit OK. And the next thing I want to show you is if I go to my channels, and I'll tell you, here's my RGB channels. There's my red, my green, and my blue. And when you turn them all on, it looks like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to change my modes. I'm going to go to image mode, come down to lab color, and you'll see these channels now. So I got a lightness channel. That's the luminosity of our file, right? That's all the detail in my image. And then I have an A and a B channel. So what I want to do is I just want to focus in on the detail of my image, just this channel right here. So I click on it, so it's selected and the color's not, because the color resides in these A and B channels. So now I can sharpen this, really sharpen it, and not affect any of the color in my image. So if I go to the filter, come down to sharpen, go to unsharp mask, right? And if you have a face in your image, you should try to find the face and look at when you sharpen things, typically. That's what I like to do anyway. I'll turn on and off my preview. This is set to 118%. Let's crank it up. So if I hold my mouse down, that's my original, and when I let it go, that's my sharpened. You can kind of really see all the little cracks and crevices in his beak. Look pretty good. His feet down here I can already see look pretty good. So I'll hit OK to that. Go to lab color here. Change my mode back to RGB. So now this is what we could print. And if I go to my history, and this is, and open up here, this is where we started, and this is what we're going to print. Now, obviously, it's much, much better. So I do this with absolutely every image that I'm going to work on. Again, photographic or artwork. So let's go ahead and do the art one, right? So I'm going to go here. This is an image that was created by Midjourney, and it looks pretty good. We'll follow the same steps. I might move a little bit faster at this point just because you just saw it, but I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing. So we'll do the image adjustments, selective color, go to neutrals, start with threes, turn on and off my preview. I'm going to go to maybe 6. Do it again. That looks pretty cool, so we'll hit OK to that. Image adjustments. Hue saturation is my second one. Again, I'm just looking for my saturation slider. I'm going to boost it up. That looks pretty good. I'll hit OK to that. My third step, image adjustments, brightness and contrast. Use legacy checkbox, 5 in my contrast, and hit OK. Next step is my levels, image adjustments, levels. There's my histogram. Again, we got a lot of stuff in the shadow side. Got a little bit here on the highlight. So let's hold my Option key or the Alt key. Now this is on a black background, which means I'll have to remove it whenever I want to print it. But what I'm going to do first is hold my Option key and look in my image. Try to ignore the background itself because I'm not worried about the background. I'm more worried about my image. Holding my Option key or the Alt key, clicking on that triangle. And there's a little bit of black in his mouth, right? Which I think is there? Or did I accidentally move it? Let's take a look. All right, there we go. So yeah, there's a couple of black pixels in here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. I'm going to hold my Option key, click on my white triangle. And if you see, there's no white pixels in here. So I'm going to move that over just a little bit. So now you can see in his eyebrow there, we have some white pixels. So we just compress that white area. That looks pretty good. I hit OK. Now, this is created by Midjourney. So my next step, image mode, let's go to lab color. I'm going to go to my lightness channel, focus in on it. And I'm just going to go to filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. And the reason I wanted to point out the fact that it's Midjourney art is AI artwork, while it's super cool looking, most times, stuff like this anyway, mascot sort of things, it's not the greatest art. There's, in fact, so I'm going to sharpen it, but I'm not going to sharpen it nearly as much as I did with the macaw there, right? So I'm going to go, I don't know, maybe 120%, 133. Why not? That looks pretty good. If you notice, I can kind of see a couple of things going on in here, right? I can like focus in on some of the hairs up in here and just sort of turn it on and take a look. Now, the reason I don't want to go much higher is because if you see this, Midjourney artwork a lot of times is, when you get down to the details, it's pretty wonky. Now, I never leave it as is. I always go in and fix and repair these kinds of things. But that's just me, and I'm an illustrator, and I hate digital art, AI artwork, because it's taking, you know, people's jobs and that sort of thing, I think. But it's cool, and it's here, and you got to use it, right? So there we go. So this is my finished one. It looks pretty good. If I go to my my history here and I hit open, you can take a look. That's what we started with, and that's what we're going to print. So it's a much better, much more contrasted, much richer looking image. And that is the benefits of optimizing your file. Again, if it's an image like this or a photograph, always run those steps and your print's going to be 10 times better. So that's the reason I like to optimize absolutely every image I need to print.
This is definitely something you should all be doing before placing your heat transfer orders. Make sure your products are of the highest standard for your customers and make sure they stand out from your competitors. To place your heat transfer order, head online to custom.stahls.co.uk and Dane will be back in another 2 weeks' time for another Artworking for Heat Transfers episode. Thanks for watching, guys.